Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in and watching my video. This is my Hell in a Cell, WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view review. And thanks for tuning in, you guys. So, of course, some programming notes coming up next week on Friday and Saturday. I will be going to, if you're a horse racing fan, I will be going to the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, which is the World Championships of Horse Racing. Everyone's heard of the Kentucky Derby. But that's in Kentucky. This is like that, but on the West Coast. It's 2 days of horse racing, Friday and Saturday. Going to be a lot of people, going to be a lot of fun. So I'll be making a in-depth trip report there from Breeders' Cup Live. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, and you'll be up to date on all of my videos that I do. Of course, I appreciate all your subscriptions and taking the time to watch my videos, and it means a lot to me that you watch. So today, not hitting the road because I have a rare Sunday off from work, and of course WWE Hell in a Cell is on. So I got some pizza, got a nice beer or six. Of course, my WrestleMania shirt, my WrestleMania cup from WrestleMania 31, which was in Santa Clara. One of the best nights of my life. It was awesome going to WrestleMania that year, and a good show anyway. WrestleMania is always a good time. So anyway, let's get into it. Hell in a Cell. By the way, stay tuned. In addition to the horse racing, we might have a video or two in the meantime before next week. So we'll see how that works out. But we've got the horse racing coming up, and we'll see what else is going on when we hit the road. So anyway, let's jump into the show. The pre-show started off. I love watching the pre-show because you get a preview of all the matches, and you get to hear the Hall of Famers, Jerry the King Lawler and Lita and Booker T, and they go over all the matches and everything. But the first match on the pre-show was a six-man tag cruiserweight match. I love watching the cruiserweights. I'm not familiar with all these guys. I didn't get to watch the entire cruiserweight series, but these are the best of the best around the world that they brought into the WWE for the cruiserweights. Excuse me. And so I'm not all that familiar with these guys quite yet. I'm familiar with some of them, but of course I know Sin Cara because he's been in WWE for a minute. But these other guys, Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Arya Daivari, of course, Daivari. We all remember Daivari, who's kind of the manager or the partner of the Great Khali. So this guy's related to that guy. So, but he's looking really good lately. So really good heel. Of course, Middle Eastern heel. Why can't Middle Eastern guys be babyface? Just wondering. Because of all the turmoil in the Middle East, that's kind of stereotypical, isn't it? Anyway, so those guys faced off against Cedric Alexander, Sin Cara, and Lince Dorado. I'm not familiar with most of these guys. Cedric Alexander, I'm familiar. He's been in the independent scene for a while, very popular wrestler in the independents. Now he's in the WWE, so very popular in the fan base, and he's looking spectacular. Big things ahead for that guy. So the winners were the team of Cedric Alexander, Sin Cara, and Lince Dorado. No major storylines or anything. The one thing that's missing from the Cruiserweight division at this point in time is character development and storytelling. They've got all the skills for the in-ring work. They look spectacular. But over time, we'll see their character development and storyline development. There was one storyline. We'll get into that on the main card with the Cruiserweight Championship. But overall, it was a pretty standard. When I say standard, a Cruiserweight match is pretty spectacular if you've ever seen one. So, pretty standard six-man Cruiserweight Championship match. So, I always enjoy watching the Cruiserweights all the way back, even when I was watching Cruiserweight division in WCW, and when it was a lot more innovative. Things you've never seen before, in today's wrestling, it's hard to do something that you've never seen before because it's all been done. Or you usually think it, wrestlers are some of the most creative people on earth, because when they come up with something new you've never seen before, that really says something, because wow, hasn't it been done? Hasn't everything been done? But somehow they come up with new stuff. I don't know how they do it. It's amazing to watch. So love watching the cruiserweights. So looking forward. It's really interesting to see what they're going to do with the character development. So we jump into the main card here. The pay-per-view kicked off with a Hell in a Cell match. They call it a triple main event with 3 Hell in a Cell matches. So the first one opened the show for the United States Championship. Rusev versus the champion Roman Reigns. And of course, Roman Reigns not been the most popular guy as of late, the last year or two. And I'm still trying to figure out why. That's like a John Cena kind of thing where everyone boos John Cena. I can kind of see why, but just the rabid booing is wow, it's incredible. But he seems to have a fan base regardless of the overall opinion of him, Roman Reigns. And I think he's earning his fan base back slowly. I could see a heel turn with him that would work very well. But anyway, as of right now, Roman Reigns, the babyface, versus Rusev, the heel. I wish they would swap so that Roman Reigns was the heel and Rusev was the babyface, because I really like Rusev. He's a great talent. I wish they would push him more. I think the whole thing with his marriage with Lana, and then they put that all in the storylines. I think that's held him back a little bit from a bigger push than what he's getting now. But he's still in the United States Championship picture, and they've got a main eventer like Roman Reigns fighting for the United States Championship. So it's good to see that the mid-card belts are getting some main event superstars attached to them. So it feels like the old days back in the 80s. You would see the Intercontinental Championship match. You'd see the Ultimate Warrior. You would see Hulk Hogan even. You would see Jake the Snake Roberts, and you'd see all these people, main event guys that would be fighting for the Intercontinental Championship. Macho Man Randy Savage. See these guys, and so it felt like, wow. And then if you think of WrestleMania 6, where it was the Intercontinental Champion Ultimate Warrior versus the World Champion Hulk Hogan, and that just both titles were all not on the level playing field, but there was a lot of prestige attached to the Intercontinental Championship. And you felt like, yeah, mid-card people can go for the Intercontinental Champion, but so can the main eventer. So I felt like that with this match. You got Roman Reigns and Rusev. Both guys could be a main event guy. Of course, Roman Reigns has been the World Heavyweight Champion. And so I love seeing that the United States Championship is on a grander scale than just mid-card wrestlers. But anyway, the match was pretty good. I was worried that this was going to be a bore fest, but they did a good job with it. There was a lot of there was chair shots, there was kendo sticks. There was one spot in particular where he threw the stairs into the ring. Rusev did, and he put Roman Reigns on the stairs and put his submission hold on him, which I don't know what you call it, a Rusev crush or machka, whatever you want to call it, his submission, where he's on the stairs and he had a chain wrapped around his face. And I thought there was no way he was going to get out of that, and I was getting excited because I thought he was going to win the United States Championship. But of course, Superman gets out of the hold and comes back and pins Rusev 1, 2, 3, and retains the United States Championship. So there was also that was a pretty brutal match. Rusev had a gash on his laceration is what they call it, a cut on his arm from the cage when he got thrown into the cage. It was pretty brutal the way he got thrown into the cage. And but anyway, Roman Reigns comes out on top. A lot of boos, but I noticed there was some cheers out there, some Roman Reigns chants. So we'll see how his popularity does. Good match though. Great way to open the show. I really enjoyed that. I'm enjoying that too. All right. Next match. By the way, that match went on for quite a while. that was I didn't get the official time or anything, but that was getting close to an Iron Man match going on 30 minutes about. And that hurt the next match, in my opinion. The next match was Bayley versus Dana Brooke. So happy to see Bayley on the main roster. She deserves more than she's gotten, but I think she's had some injuries that have held her back, and but she should have been brought up earlier than she was. But Dana Brooke, I think I was at her debut that I was at in San Jose, WrestleMania weekend. But she's looking very good. A lot of improvement since I first saw her. She's looking spectacular. Bayley's looking great. But this match hurt because it did not get a lot of time, just a few minutes. There was no storyline that I was really aware of. Maybe I'm just not aware of a storyline going on with them or a feud. But nothing special. Just seemed like a time waster. Like if you remember back in the Divas era, it was whenever the Divas would come on, that was your bathroom break match, and that's what this felt like. It was a quick 5-minute match. And nothing special. Bayley won the match, but they're so much more talented than what this match showed, and they deserve more than that. They deserve better. So hopefully they'll be given more time next time. But what a waste of talent. So anyway, moving on to that, the next match was, of course, Enzo and Kaz come out. The fan favorites, and I always expect them to win just because they're such huge fan favorites. Everybody loves Enzo and Big Cass, and they come out and do excellent promo work. And they did a funny thing where they called Carl Anderson, they called him Andy, and did a Toy Story reference where Andy was going to be tattooed or stamped on the bottom of Big Kaz's boot. So it was like a Toy Story reference, Andy. Anyway, that was a funny line. It's not funny when I tell it. But it was a funny line, and they do just great promo work. And so anyway, it was Enzo and Kaz against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Not anything special. When I say that, though, I mean, these guys bring it when they come in the ring every single time. Both teams. They're great teams, but the end of the match was surprising. Like I said, I always expect Enzo and Big Cass to win, but Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows won. Of course, Luke Gallows, he was one of my favorites back in the day when he wasn't Luke Gallows. He was Festus. So I was a big fan of Festus, and that somewhere I'd have to find it. I've got a picture of me doing that face with Festus, both of us going. It's pretty funny. Anyway, that was back at WrestleMania 24. That was a good time. Anyway, Gallows and Anderson got the win, which is actually, when I think back, that's a good decision because when you expect Enzo and Kaz to win, they're already fan favorites, so they're going to win the match. I think that would harm their opponents, Gallows and Anderson. So it's good to see them get a nice push over Enzo and Kaz. Makes both teams relevant and gives a good push to Gallows and Anderson. Of course, Enzo and Kaz will always have a push as long as they're fan favorites. So I would say thumbs up on that match. Pretty good. Nothing too spectacular, but these guys bring it, man. Good match. I liked it. So next match was the second main event, and I was not expecting this one to come on before the main event, but they went with Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins for the WWE Universal Championship, and really interesting. We'll get into that a little bit more when I talk about the main event, but Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, what a great match. These guys are so entertaining. Of course, Seth Rollins is one of my favorites because he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 31, where I was there, and he ran down and cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase when Brock Lesnar was fighting Roman Reigns, and he walked out the World Heavyweight Championship, and that match was set up to be such a disaster, and that was the right thing to do at that point in time. So I was kind of hoping Seth Rollins was going to come back, but I wasn't expecting him to win because he fairly recently just came back from that injury, and you never want to get a situation where someone's coming back from injury and you rush them into a title and just for him to be re-injured or something like that, and then he has to surrender the title, a lot like what happened with Daniel Bryan. So I was not surprised. Kevin Owens did win the match, but the match was very fun because Kevin Owens is buddy right now with Chris Jericho. Jericho is just entertaining as hell. I love Jericho. That guy's awesome. He's so entertaining and funny. And they did a spot where there was, of course, in a Hell in a Cell match, there's two referees, one in the ring and one outside of the ring. And they did a spot where Kevin Owens found a fire extinguisher and acted like he didn't know how to use it, and he sprayed the referee with the fire extinguisher. So the other referee goes, "Oh, we need to get him some help. We need to get him to the back." So they open the door for Hell in a Cell to take the referee to the back to get his eyes flushed or whatever. And of course, Jericho runs down and jumps into the ring and locks himself in the ring. So now it's basically a legal 2-on-1 handicap match. Chris Jericho helping Kevin Owens. And at one point, Seth Rollins had Kevin Owens pinned, but Jericho pulls the referee out by the leg before he can count to 3. So Seth Rollins couldn't overcome the 2-on-1 odds, and Kevin Owens wins the match. Still your WWE Universal Champion. So, but very entertaining. Both of those guys are awesome. All three of those guys are awesome. That was a very fun match. So, next match, Cruiserweight Championship. T.J. Perkins versus Brian Kendrick. I'm sorry about that. The Brian Kendrick. So, very good match. And like I said earlier, for the 6-man tag, the one thing the Cruiserweight division is missing is character development and storytelling. The exception is this match. They had a very intriguing storyline going. When T.J. Perkins came into the business, and this is a true story, he was training with Brian Kendrick, and they were kind of partnered up where he would, Brian Kendrick would help T.J. Perkins and drive him to his wrestling school after school or whatever. And so interesting story that they trained together and things like that. And now he's in the WWE and he's the Cruiserweight champion. Brian Kendrick wants the Cruiserweight Championship, so he asked T.J. Perkins to let him win. And, of course, T.J. Perkins says, "You need to be like the Brian Kendrick I used to know, and you need to go in the ring and earn it." And anyway, so the match was going on. It was a good Cruiserweight match, not as high-flying as the other one, but the storyline was really good storytelling. However, I was not buying into the whole thing where Brian Kendrick was, all of a sudden, he injured his leg or his knee or whatever, and then T.J. Perkins is all worried about him, and I'm like, come on, you're not falling for that, are you? And he did. He fell over. He went over to try to help him up, and of course he got beat as a result. So Brian Kendrick is the new WWE Cruiserweight Champion, and in my opinion, T.J. Perkins should win the Slammy Award for the most gullible superstar of 2016, because I saw that coming from a mile away. And he went right over to help him up and lost the match because of it. So stupid. I saw it coming. And anyway, silly. The storytelling was really good, but the execution, I think, could have been a little bit better because it wasn't believable in my opinion. All right, moving on from that. The New Day, your WWE World. Anyway, I'm not standing up for that. Your tag team champions, New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus. This was another entertaining match because Cesaro and Sheamus had previously beat the New Day, but they don't get along at all. And but they did earn the tag team championship. So they did a funny backstage segment where Cesaro and Sheamus are arguing over who's paying for the rental car, and he didn't pitch in for the tolls, and eating your silly gluten-free food and all this stuff. They're just bickering and arguing over all these funny things. I thought it was really entertaining and funny. I am a Sheamus fan. He's been getting booed a lot lately. They call me, I don't like his haircut, but you look stupid chance. But really good stuff between the two of them. I am a Sheamus fan, but I saw this coming, that they weren't going to win the tag team championships because they obviously don't have the chemistry to get along. Or it could have gone that way, which was I was expecting, or it could go the other way where they're not getting along, but my screen turned off. But they still win the belts, and then we get to watch all that fun shenanigans when they're not getting along. So what happened was during the match, of course, New Day's a three-man team, and so two of them in the match were Xavier Woods and Big E, and they were wrestling, and Kofi Kingston was on the outside. So what happened was Kofi Kingston was on the outside, and Xavier Woods was in a submission hold. And right at the exact same time when Xavier Woods was in a submission hold, he taps out. But right then, Kofi Kingston was interfering in the match and attacked the other guy with a trombone. So the referee sees that at the exact same time Xavier Woods is tapping out. He calls for the bell. So Cesaro and Sheamus think they've won the belts, but in actuality, he calls for a disqualification. So they did win the match via disqualification, but still your tag team champions are the New Day. So very entertaining stuff. It looks like they're going to continue this feud. And so we'll see what happens with that. Of course, the New Day, our record has I think the record for the tag team championships, all-time record. So we'll see how much longer. They're selling a lot of merchandise. They're very popular. So we'll see how much longer they keep the belts. I don't see anybody beating them anytime soon in the near future. But we'll see how long that goes. All right, so the main event. This is very interesting because Women's Revolution has just been breaking ground left and right. And one of their goals was to be the main event on a pay-per-view. And tonight was the night. I wasn't expecting it. I thought the WWE Universal Championship would be the main event. But they decided to go with Charlotte and Sasha in the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. And so not only, they were talking a lot about that, but they didn't mention that this was the very first women's pay-per-view main event, which was spectacular to see, So they well deserved by both women. Congratulations to them. They worked so hard for that, and of course, there's one more achievement that they want to accomplish, and that's main eventing WrestleMania. I don't see that happening in the next few years, but they're definitely proving that they can do it and that they belong there. They really do. So congratulations to them. So Charlotte and Sasha Banks, of course, Sasha Banks is introduced, and she comes out with that spectacular entrance in the SUV with the bodyguards, and that was really cool. So she comes down to the ring. Charlotte comes to the ring. They start lowering the cage, and you can see the emotion on both of their faces, that they're there, that they're making history, and it's just a really special moment to see them, and it was real. That's real emotion that they're experiencing. It's not just part of the show, and that's really something cool to see. So Charlotte and Sasha, but before the cage finishes lowering down, Charlotte attacks Sasha and throws her out of the ring, throws her underneath the cage that is still coming down from the ceiling, and it looks like she's going to get crushed. So I was like, watch out for the cage, and thankfully they stopped the cage so she didn't die. And but anyway, they end up brawling out into the crowd, and they come back over to the cage, and Charlotte starts, or both girls actually start crawling up to the cage. Looks like they're going to do a Mick Foley where they crawl up to the top of the cell, and but Charlotte pulls Sasha down and gives her a brutal power bomb right through the announce table. And it looked like they were going to call the match after that. The match didn't even start yet at this point. But they called the EMTs to come out and help and check on her. And they put her on the stretcher. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to end the match like this, are they? So just before they're going to announce that she's going to forfeit the championship because she can't continue. Well, she gets off the stretcher and she says, hell no, I'm not going out that way. gets in the cell, and the match starts. And so that was a really fun way to start the match. And crowd's just on fire in Boston. By the way, great crowd in Boston. So anyway, in the match itself was really, really good. They used steel chairs. They used tables. It was pretty brutal. And a couple of times at the end of the match, Charlotte tried to throw Sasha Banks through the table, but the table didn't break twice. But it still looked very brutal, because that's even worse sometimes when the table doesn't break. And but anyway, the ongoing theme was Charlotte's back after that brutal powerbomb through the announce table, and she just couldn't recover from that. So the winner and 3-time WWE Raw Women's Champion, Charlotte, new Women's Champion. So great match. Congratulations. I hate to even say who's the winner and the loser, because really they're both winners after something like that, to make history like that. And just a spectacular match. I was surprised Charlotte won, especially when the match was in Boston, which is the hometown of Sasha Banks. So I was fully expecting Sasha Banks to retain there, but Charlotte wins. But I mean, Charlotte Flair, she's so talented as well. The belt's in good hands with either woman. I'm hoping Sasha Banks isn't injured or has nagging injuries going on, but that's certainly part of the storyline. But we'll see what happens with Sasha in the future. But well deserved. I was really happy to see that they proved that they can be in the main event and steal the show. So well done. And of course, unlike the Bayley and Dana Brooke match, they had plenty of time to execute their match and tell a good story in the ring. And that's what these women need. They just need a chance. They just need time to do the good matches. And if they can do that, they can be in the main event. No problem at all. I don't see any issues with that. So anyway, great pay-per-view. I was really happy with it. Overall, I give it a B to a B+. The major surprises were Charlotte winning, and also I was surprised that Brian Kendrick won, especially in the way that he did it. Saw that coming a mile away. Other than that, the matches were pretty much what I expected, and but everybody performed very well. The matches were really good to great. So pretty good match. So anyway, that'll wrap it up for today's Hell in a Cell. Stay tuned. As I said, next week we got horse racing at the Breeders' Cup. Also, we're going to have maybe a video or two before that in the meantime. But stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any videos. And tell your friends, share on Facebook, share on Twitter. And I'm looking forward to making more videos for you guys. And thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and that you take the time out of your day to watch what I'm doing. And hopefully I'm entertaining to you at least a little bit. So we'll see you next time on Let's Hit the Road, Jack. More fun adventures coming up. And Breeders' Cup, I'm looking forward to that next week. That's going to be a lot of fun. And so we'll go over all my picks and the big races next week for the Breeders' Cup. So until then, we'll see you next time on the road. Let's hit the road, Jack. Thanks for watching, all you WWE fans. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.